الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to another show on Ramadan special EAVA FM 102.5. This is the Iftar show and we are looking at tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha. Ask Allah to make this beneficial for us all. Ask Allah to give us the rizq of Iman and love and fear for Him Jalla wa Ala. Ask Allah to make us of those who are firmly guided on the straight path in the dunya so that we can be guided on the path in the akhirah. We've been looking in these series of lectures to the importance of Surah Fatiha and some of its lessons and some of its virtues, and we have mentioned for a couple of days now the effects of the first line and the second line and the third line. The first line being Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, a line of love and connection with Allah. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, a line of hope in Allah because He is the gracious and He is the most beneficent. And Maliki Yawmiddin, because there's going to be a resurrection, there's going to be a day of standing, and that instills fear in a person. Now, these are terminologies that we hope to discuss in today's lecture because love and hope and fear actually really needs to be defined and it needs to be put into practicality, because a person will easily say that I do love Allah more than anything else, I have hope in Allah more than anything else, and I fear Allah more than anything else. However, the practicality might not be there, the implementation might not be there, and the level of flexibility might not be known to them, or the level of inflexibility as well. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, your heart, and the reason why this topic is very important, he said your heart and your life, so your body and your soul, depends on three things. If it is strong, then your heart and your soul and your body will be strong, and this will impact the rest of your life. Your life will be tranquil, your life will be a life of steadfastness, a life of consequences, a life of morals and objectives, a life of success. However, if these three things are compromised, then according to the level of compromise, the lesser of the lesser. The lesser of the tranquility, the lesser of the success, the lesser of the guidance, the lesser of the happiness, the lesser of the rizq, the lesser of having your problems resolved for you, the lesser of your dua being accepted, the lesser of you just being a beneficial and successful individual in the dunya and the akhirah. And it's all pivotal to these three things. He said, number one, al-khawf, which is the fear that we were talking about. And we will talk about and define and explain and expand on these things. But this is talking about the importance of why we should be studying this topic. Number one, khawf, which is fear. Number two, ar-raja, which is hope. And number three, al-mahabba. Khawf, number one, raja, number two, and number three, al-mahabba. And he went on to say, mahabba means love. And he went on to say, rahimahullah, Ibn Taymiyyah, if the heart contradicts one or any one of these things or more of these, then the betterment of their iman and the strength of their iman will be compromised, and their connection with Allah and the akhirah will likewise be compromised. Hope, fear, and mahabba. Now, if you were to ask somebody what is love and what is hope and what is fear, I think the linguistic definition of it is quite common, so they might not think that there needs to be an actual definition for it. However, we're talking more here in a religious sense of things. We're talking about more with your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that we saw in yesterday's program, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Allah Jalla wa Ala is introducing Himself to us, and He is telling us that He is not a created being and there is nothing that deserves to be worshipped except Him, because everything else is created, because Alameen refers to everything else that is created. Therefore, He is the Rabb of the Alameen. He is the Rabb of everything that exists because He is the one who brought it into existence alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, He alone deserves our worship. Therefore, line number one, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, is a line of love, is a line of Iman, and is a line of Tawheed. The second line is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. excuse me, the second line is a line where it says Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and this is a line of instruction, as we talked about yesterday. Instruction. Allah Jalla wa Ala, through His mercy and His grace, has given us instruction. And if you were to follow that instruction, the rahmah of Allah Jalla wa Ala will be in your life. And these are the things that every single human being wants for themselves: the success and the security and the rizq and the happiness and the tranquility. And if there is a difficulty that they have somehow, whether it's themselves or some kind of being, or whether it's touching wood or wherever it is, will enable them to find a very swift and beneficial exit from whatever difficulty they're facing in their life. However, the people of Iman don't think like that. They attribute all rahmah and all guidance and all exiting and all incoming and all provision, and every kind of moment in your life is not devoid from the instruction that Allah has given to you, because He is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin is the sentence of fear. And this is the sentence of us having consequence in ourselves. Now, like I've said, these are statements and these are wordings that I'm sure will resound to a lot of people listening and thinking, well, that makes perfect sense and we don't need to define it, etc. But what is the practicality? Why is the ummah so weak in the state that it is? Why are people so far away from their religion? Why are people not proud of their religion? Why are people not wanting to hold on to their religion? It's because love, hope and fear is not fully understood, and they don't understand what connection they can have with Allah through it, and what flexibility and inflexibility they have through it. Love for Allah means you have Iman in Him. You have Iman in Him, that He alone is the creator, He is the provider, and He is the sustainer, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, all acts of worship must be directed to Him alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever He has instructed us and told us of the unseen and the seen, then we know that there is khair in it, and this is Iman. Iman means to believe in something of the unseen which is not seen to us, but it's been told to us by a trustworthy source, and we accept it. As the children of Yusuf said, the children of Yaqub said to Yaqub alayhi salam when he went away, وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا, and you don't have Iman in us. You don't have Iman in the sense that we are telling you something that has occurred that you have not seen, but you will not believe it. So the word Iman here is referred to information that has come to Yaqub alayhi salam through a source, but they, the children, have said that you don't have Iman. So the linguistic meaning of Iman here is to believe in something that has been given to them from a trustworthy source of knowledge. But the Islamic definition, the definition that we want to uncover even, is something which is much more profound than that, which is that we need to understand that Allah is our creator, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that He has certain names and attributes which He wants to connect through us with. He is Ar-Rahman, and He loves those people who show Rahmah, and if you show Rahmah, Allah will have Rahmah on you. He is Al-Ghafoor, and He loves those people who pardon and overlook and conceal. And if you do that more with other people, then He will overlook and conceal and pardon you, and so on. He is the one who pardons, especially in this month. And He loves those people who pardon. So if you pardon others, then the pardoner, the extreme, the all pardoner, will pardon those people who pardon. He is kind. He is Al-Rafiq. He is Al-Kareem. And He loves those people who have rifq and karama towards other people. They are kind, they are gentle, they have pleasant behavior towards other people. And if those people are displaying those characteristics, then Allah loves them and Allah will bless them. The names and attributes of Allah is something which is very, very detailed and comprehensive, and the more a person learns and implements them in his life, then they will find the blessing. The Prophet ﷺ said, Inna lillahi tis'atu wa tis'una isman. Allah Jalla wa Ala has 99 names. Man ahsaha, whoever learns them, implements them, knows of Allah having them, and he wants to get closer to Allah through them, dakhal Jannah. You won't go to Jannah by having a chart on the wall with the names of Allah. You won't go to Jannah by having a chart on the name, which is a chart where we presume that we will get some kind of protection from it. You won't go to Jannah by having a chart on the wall where we think that if you put this chart on the wall, you will get barakah in your life. You can only go to Jannah through Tawheed. You can only go to Jannah if you exemplify Tawheed in your actions, in your statements, in your behavior, in your connection with your Lord Jalla wa Ala, and with other beings, the creation. We can only go to Jannah if we make Allah our object of worship, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, it is unfortunate that there are some people who don't pray at all. And even in Ramadan, they will fast but they won't pray. Will understand. The ulama from all four madhahib have said that if you lose the second pillar of Islam, which is as-salat, then it is very likely that you can lose the first pillar, which is la ilaha illallah. And if you completely abandon it, there is no madhab from the ulama, from Ahl Sunnah, who believe that a person can enter Jannah and be a Muslim. So how can a person skip from the first pillar to the fourth pillar and fast in Ramadan and say la ilaha illallah and not exemplify worship in the routine, systematic worship that Allah has decreed for us? This is part of your iman, my brothers. This is part of your tawheed. This is part of you saying la ilaha illallah. How can you say la ilaha illallah and not worship him? There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, but I won't worship him. That doesn't make sense. It makes no sense at all. And through this, if you were to attach yourself to Allah in worshipping him alone, Allah Jalla wa Ala, the one who has told us from the unseen of things that he will grant for people, he will definitely give you success. He will give you happiness. He will take away the difficulties that you face in your life. But it's unfortunate now in this first sentence, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and this is part of having love for Allah, which is that people are being faced with misconceptions and things which are confusing them in what this actually means, alhamdulillah, or la ilaha illallah, even for that matter. So there are Muslims who think, well, I do believe in Allah, but I'm not sure. Or I do believe in Allah, but I don't agree with all of it. Or I do believe in Allah and His Messenger, however. And there are some, unfortunately, who don't want to be Muslim. And they've been born in Muslim families. And there are some people who have been Muslim for a very, very long time. And they genuinely don't want to be Muslim. Whether they admit it verbally or whether it's there in their actions, they will show reservations. This is known with the ulama as shubuhat. And these shubuhat need to be removed. These shubuhat need to be discussed. There needs to be a healthy dialogue. There needs to be some level of communication between the masajid and the people in charge and teaching people la ilaha illallah and what it actually means. It's because we as a nation, as a community, as homes, as individuals have gone away from what Tawheed actually is, and people have not become firm in what love of Allah actually should entail. So if there are people from our community who are saying that Allah doesn't actually exist, or there are problems with Allah and His message towards us, subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there is a problem not with that individual per se, but there is a problem that has backlogged for a very long time and we have not been addressing it. Therefore, just to summarize, I mean, this is a lecture in itself, but just to summarize, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consists of having tawheed and iman in Him. And if there are any misconceptions or doubts or areas of confusion where a person has, then the masjid and the imam, and there must be a safe area for them to come and speak. And it is not conceivable at all that Allah, who is Rabbul Alameen, the creator of everything that exists, that He hasn't given an answer for any kind of misconception that shaitan can throw into this dunya. It's not possible. There is an answer for absolutely everything. Iman needs to be firm in our hearts, my brothers and sisters. We need to go back to Tawheed, and we need to remove any kind of veil which is obstructing us to completing that Tawheed. Sometimes it's outright shirk. Sometimes it's outright creating partners with Allah, where people actually believe that created beings can bless them, created beings can remove from them harm, created beings can harm them if you don't worship them, created beings can answer your dua. All of these things need to be removed. These are more cultural misconceptions. In the Western arena of Iman now, there are more theological misconceptions which need to be discussed. And unfortunately, this is not the time or the place for us to do that. However, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen is there. And this is the opening of the book, because Allah Jalla wa Ala is saying in the rest of this book This statement is going to be explained. This is one of the qawaid, one of the principles that the ulama of tafsir have actually said, and I was going to expand on this, and we will expand on this when we get to the last sentence, which is that the Quran, whatever comes before it, is a general statement of what comes after it. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen is all the way connected to Min al Jannati wan Nas. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen is connected to the last ayah of the Quran. It's connected. And it's not been put there coincidentally. It's been put there for a reason. Through divine justice and ilm. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen actually explains Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim actually explains Malik Yawmiddin. Malik Yawmiddin explains Iyyaka na'budu. Fatiha is explained in Baqarah. Baqarah and Fatiha is explained in Al-Imran. So basically the surah that comes before is general, and the surah that comes after is more detailed to the generality that came before. Therefore, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen is much more general than anything else that comes in the Quran. If there are misconceptions that we have in our communities, in ourselves, in our homes, in our masjids even, then those misconceptions can be removed 100% because it all goes back to Allah being the creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The next point, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and we talked about this being Allah giving us instruction. And if we follow that instruction through His grace and His mercy, we will have barakah in our lives, we will have success, we will have tranquility, and all those things that we've just mentioned of khair that every single human being, even animals, want for themselves. However, where are we going wrong with that instruction? We have lost hope. That's why this next statement is a statement of hope. Because Islam, in actual fact, gives us flexibility. Islam, unfortunately, what has happened is that people have lost hope because they don't realize that they have got flexibility. So there are people who will think, okay, well, if I need to do a particular action, it'll be burdensome, etc. But they don't realize that there are a lot of things which have flexibility in Islam. And I can't really give examples, we don't have time for it, but what I will say is what we need to do is remove the veil of, there's another veil here, which is the veil of blindly following authorities and books and even masjids. What we need to do is start having dialogue with people who can give us answers. Just like the first one when it comes to our iman. But even when it comes to our religion, ask, what is the dalil? Why are we doing this? What does Allah actually say in the Quran subhanahu wa ta'ala? Did the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say it? Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ, whatever the Rasul has given to you, فَخُذُوا, take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. If the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has explained something to you, then take it. If he has told you stay away from something, then stay away from it. The dalil has to be there. Allah says in the Quran, if you don't know, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, then ask. Have a healthy dialogue and conversation. If we are not doing that, if we fall into this black and grey area of blindly following, we lose our options. We lose our options. So now, unfortunately, and this is just one example. I was speaking to somebody the other day and he said that Ramadan is very well, it's good. I don't mind fasting, but fasting and praying at night is too difficult for me. I can't do both, but I have to do both, and I'm pushing myself to do both. And then I have to go work, and I have to work for 10 hours, and it's very difficult. He's genuinely complaining. There are people who are complaining of sleep deprivation. There are people who are complaining who they feel that they're being malnourished. Islam doesn't want that for you. And if you were to ask a scholar that, look, I've got this genuine concern. Look, I want to go to work and I want to pray and I want to fast, but I can't do everything. What do I do? What are my options? You need to ask for your options. And the scholar who knows the dalil will be able to prioritize for you what is good for you. So it may well be that the sheikh might say, actually, listen, 10:30, pray Salatul Isha, go to sleep. Wake up at 2 o'clock, have suhoor, etc. Then go back to sleep, and then you can have a nice, long 6-7 hours. You'll be fresh for the rest of the day. Leave Salatul Tarawih for this year. It's possible. I'm not trying to condone it, but I'm just trying to say that there are prescriptive measures which will increase us in our hope. Now, if a person is being sleep deprived, for example, this is one particular solution that we can offer to them and say to them, listen, you don't have to do all of the things if it's going to create burdensome for you, it's going to create trouble for you. So then what you need to do is prioritize. The sheikh is able to give you that priority. However, unfortunate what's happened, people have moved away from that hope and they think, no, this is the rigid religion that I need to follow, and this is what has been prescribed for me. I can't challenge it. I don't even know why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it because I think that this is part of the religion. And then what happens is after Ramadan, you think, oh, thank God for that. It's over. The hope is gone. The systematic routine that we were supposed to gain taqwa by is completely left, and you are happy to run away from it. Why? Because the flexibility had not been explained to you. That's because we are living in a bubble of blindly following. What we need to do is learn our flexibilities, learn and ask for the dalil, and they will then be able to prioritize and give you options. And if you're able to do that, the instruction of Allah will be made clearer and easier for you, because sometimes the sheikh who knows the dalil can even explain to you what the rationale is, what the wisdom is, and if you can understand that, then you can understand the beauty of this religion. And if you can't understand that, then you will just see it as a cultural, segregated religion, which is not feasible for you to live in the West. And that makes you think that actually, I am still a Muslim because of point number one, love and Iman, but the instruction, the hope part, I'm not sure if it's actually there. And it's all connected, my brothers and sisters. A person could lose hope and then eventually lose Iman and lose love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason why is because we've not been educating ourselves properly. Instill in yourself tawheed and love for Allah. Remove any kind of misconceptions and confusions that you have. That is Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Allah has given you instructions. Follow those instructions. Learn the instructions, why you are doing those instructions. Learn the dalil for those instructions. Ask those people what your options are and what the flexibility is, and ask them about the priority and what should be, given of importance to you in your circumstance. And there are people out there that can help you with that, and that will then create love for you for your religion, because you will see the barakah and you will see why you're doing it. You'll see the hikmah behind it. You'll see the intelligence behind it, because Allah says over again in the Quran, لِأُولِي الْأَذْبَابِ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Allah says so that you can gain aql. أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Will you not ponder? Will you not think? Allah says إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. These are ayat for those people who have sound intellect and ration. This religion is a religion which is practical, and it is part of Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, because it is from His grace and His mercy that He has given you that practicality and that pragmatism. It's not fixed to a particular culture or generation or language. It is universal. Islam supersedes time and place. It is universal. You can implement Islam in any time or place. However, you need to know the options. Malik Yawmiddin is a sense of fear. It's a sense of consequence. Now, that consequence will drive you to do more. If you think that, okay, today's fast is not being accepted because I think I've done one or two things which may have reduced the level of reward. When it comes to Zakat al-Fitr, you might think, I'm not going to give £3, I'm going to give £6 because of that day. That fear will drive you to do more. You have prayed Salat al-Tarawih today, and you think, oh, well, today I've been it's the end of the week and it's not been very good. Tomorrow I'm going to do better, because that sense of fear is going to help you to do more. In a nutshell, the sense of fear that you have as a believer with the love and the hope creates steadfastness, because nothing is cheap. Nothing which is valuable is cheap, my brothers and sisters. Jannah is not cheap. And Jannah requires you having love and hope and fear with your Lord and increasing that connection. We're going now for a break, and after the break, bi'idhnillah, we will now talk about more definitions and practicality connected to hope and fear. Ask Allah to make this beneficial for us. Well, ask Allah to make us of those who have ikhlas in Him and are firmly grounded in knowledge of Him and what He wants from us, so that we can live sensibly with consequence in this dunya, and in our akhirah we will be returned to a graceful and thankful Lord. This is Ramadan special, EAVA FM 102.5. Bi'idhnillah, we'll see you after the break. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Ramadan special, EAVA FM 102.5 FM. And this is the Iftar show. And we were talking about love and hope and fear in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before the break. And in this final segment, before we finish for today, I just wanted to discuss what some of the ulama have mentioned about these three characteristics which are binding, which are absolutely necessary for the believer. Imam al-Nawawi has a book called Riyadh al-Salihin. And Riyadh al-Salihin, he has a chapter which talks about hope alone, and then fear alone, and then hope and fear. And he says, rahimahullah, know, have knowledge, understand very, very well that a slave, when is in good health and has ability, should show a balance between hope and fear. When you have ability to do good deeds, then you should show a balance between hope and fear. However, when the state of a person becomes a state of inability, bad health, he should show preference to having hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said there are plenty of proofs from the Quran and the Sunnah to support what he has just said. Now, what this means is that when a believer is in a default situation, we talked about this before, love has to be there, that's the body. And the body has two wings, a wing of fear and a wing of hope. And the only way that you're going to push yourself forward is if that is balanced. Now, this is a very, very, very important point, because it's because of this people become actually liberal, and it's because of this people actually become extreme. The liberal side, where people become too heavily dependent on the hope side of things, will say, well, as long as I'm saying La ilaha illallah, I don't need to fast, I don't need to pray, I don't need to wear hijab, I don't need to go to Salatul Jummah, I don't need to wear a beard, I don't need to grow a beard, I don't need to do any of those things because I'm a Muslim. And I say La ilaha illallah, Allah knows I'm a good person inside. That is not part of what we have been discussing here in Surah Al-Fatiha. Allah wants us to be practical. Allah wants us to implement our religion so that we can live with bliss and security and uprightness, because you have an enemy. And that enemy wants you to take you to the hellfire. And without that instruction, if you're going to completely become secular and devoid and say, well, I don't need to follow any of that, I've got La ilaha illallah in my heart and I'm comfortable with that and that's enough for me, then how do you know that that statement alone is not from the misconceptions of shaitan upon you? How do you know that something in your life is going to occur and shaitan's going to infiltrate that situation with you? You don't know that. Allah has given us instruction from the moment that we have woken up. We have adhkar. To the moment that we go to sleep, we have dhikr and adhkar that we should be reciting, and it's encouraged for us to recite. But the point here is, even if you don't recite it, the point here is that you've been given that instruction. Whether you accept it, whether you want to do it, you will be blessed even more. But Allah wants you to do the bare minimum, which are the obligatory actions. But the point here is that the Prophet ﷺ was the moving and the talking and the literal example of the religion. Therefore, a person can't say La ilaha illallah and have too much hope and leave that La ilaha illallah and the acting of it. Because when you say La ilaha illallah, you need actions. Also, what we learn from this is now unfortunate, and people don't know what's going on. And the reason why it is going on is because people don't realize that there have been people in our communities and our cultures and, the understanding of Islam, international and abroad, as well as domestic, unfortunately, which is that people have given too much emphasis on fear. So people around the world, Muslims, are being killed. Muslims are going through oppression. Muslim governments, they have, conspiracies about Muslim governments, etc. So what happens is that they say, these people who show too much emphasis on fear will say, you are not doing enough. It starts off with that. And when they feel that they're not doing enough, then they think, okay, what should I be doing to be doing more? How more of an effort can I be putting in? Eventually, that notion of fear will create extremism. People will begin to sympathize. Then they will actually fall into it. They may even get groomed. And this is why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, this has all been taken from what he has been talking about in his book Madarij as-Salikin, which is an explanation of Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in, 1,000 pages. He said rahimahullah that many from the earliest generation, we're talking about the time of the companions and the students of the companions, they used to say, Man abad Allah, whoever worships Allah bil hub wahda, fahuwa zindiq. Whoever worships Allah just by love alone, then he is a heretic, he is a hypocrite, he is somebody who is not implementing the religion. He says he loves Allah, but his actions are contradicting that love of Allah. So you say, oh yeah, I love Allah all day long, but I won't wake up for Fajr. I won't pray Dhuhr. I won't pray Maghrib. I won't do what Allah loves. For who is Zindiq? He is a liar. He is an hypocrite. He is. Now we have to be very careful as well here. I want to make this clear that these labels that we are throwing around and we are saying, they're more to do with characteristics and they are not prescriptive. We can't say, well, I know somebody who didn't pray Fajr, then he is a hypocrite. Can't do that. That's not allowed. That's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that these are characteristics of certain people who will have those labels, but that is a connection between them and Allah. And Allah will hold them to account for that. It's not for us. But what we do need to do is study and learn why they have said this and what they have said, in order for us to be safe from having too much love and not enough hope and fear. Not the right balance. So he said, whoever worships Allah with love alone, then he is a hypocrite and he is a heretic and he is an innovator and he is somebody who is not following the correct understanding of Islam, because his actions are not connected to the love that he claims that he has. That's point number one. وَمَنْ أَبَدَهُ, whoever worships Allah بِالْخَوْفِ وَحْدَهُ فَهُوَ حَرُورِي. Whoever worships Allah with fear alone, he will end up becoming an extremist. SubhanAllah, look how clear this is. You're not doing enough, my brother. Palestine is in fire and there's things going on in Burma and there's all these things. I'm not trying to say that we are not sympathetic towards them, but if there is too much fear when it comes to this, when there's too much fear in our lives also, if there's too much fear when it comes to wasawis, if there's too much fear with all these different things, then what will happen is that you will become extreme, whether it's extreme in your ideology, whether it's extreme in the practices. I've actually seen people who've completed wudu and they've started wudu again. Too much fear. Because they fear that it's not been accepted, so they have to do it again. وَمَنْ عَبَدَهُ, and whoever worships Allah بِالرَّجَاء وَحْدَهُ فَهُوَ مُرْجِي. Whoever worships Allah with hope alone, then he is a person who has disconnected his iman from his actions. And this is a problem. He's become secular. He's become too liberal in the sense that there is no religion left in that person. وَمَنْ أَبَدَهُ بِالْحُبِّ وَالْخَوْفِ وَالرَّجَاءِ فَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ. And he went on to say, whoever worships Allah with the right balance of love and hope and fear, then he is an upright believer upon the Sirat al-Mustaqim, which is the very next ayah. So it's very important, my brothers and sisters, that we understand, like Imam Nawawi has said, that our practical life must be driven with hope, thinking that yes, this is the prescription that Allah has given to me, this is the instruction. If I do it, there will be khair in it, and I don't want to do certain things because I don't think those things will be good for me. If you don't understand why you're doing those things or why you're refraining from those things, ask, because it may be that you've got a misconception. Allah doesn't want a hardship for you, so it may be that you are in fear where you should actually be in hope, or you may be in hope but you should actually be in fear. And that's how you should be living your life, with a balance of hope and fear. When you become in a state of inability, then you should increase in hope. Because now, for example, people are paralyzed, people are going through difficulty, people are going through sicknesses, elderly. They need to increase in hope and having good thoughts of Allah. Those people who are sinning, they need to increase in fear. So the balance can adjust itself in order for you to become upright and have that right balance eventually. So when you increase in fear, when you become sinning, then it will correct itself when it becomes to hope and fear. Or it could be in hope. There is too much hope because you are living in a state of inability. But when it becomes a state of ability again, when your things become easier, then there is a balance. Imam Nawawi talks about this in length, and you can refer back to Riyadh al-Salihin for that. What are some of the virtues, my brothers and sisters, that we have seen? If you have love, hope and fear correctly, firmly grounded in your life with its definitions, with its implementation correctly, you will become a person who is upon Tawheed. You will be a person upon the correct methodology, following the right way, being a believer on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. But there's also something that Allah mentions in the Quran about the prophets. They used to, Allah talks about them worshipping خوفا وطمعا. They used to worship Allah with hope and fear. Allah makes an instruction of this also. ادعوا ربكم تضرعا وخفيا إنه لا يحب المعتدين. Allah tells us to worship Him with love, hope and fear, correctly balanced. And Allah doesn't like those people who deviate and transgress. So to conclude all of this, my brothers and sisters, some of the ulama of tafsir have actually said that love, hope and fear are the characteristics of the people of Jannah. And this is the yardstick for you to enter Jannah and ask Allah to give us Jannah in this month of Jannah, where the doors of Jannah are made wide open for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But to conclude, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen is Iman and Tawheed. What we need to do is remove shirk and affirm Tawheed for ourselves. And that includes removing any kind of misconceptions that we have. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim is instruction. Allah has given you instruction. Follow those instructions and don't follow people blindly. Learn Islam, learn your options, learn the dalil, learn the evidence, learn the textual proof, and learn where your flexibility may lie under a rightly guided scholar. And also be responsible for yourself, Malik Yawmiddin, because there is a sense of fear. You yourself need to take control of your own akhirah. Ask Allah to make us of those who have Iman. Ask Allah to make us of those whose shirk is being removed from. Oh Allah, remove shirk from ourselves. Oh Allah, remove shirk from ourselves. Oh Allah, remove shirk from our household. Oh Allah, Ibrahim alayhi salam used to supplicate to Allah that I do not want my children to worship al-asnam. Oh Allah, innahunna adlalna kathiran min an-nas. Oh Allah, these idols and these things that people are taking as rivals and partners unto you, Ya Allah, have misguided so many people. Oh Allah, make us of those who follow the millah of Ibrahim, Hanifan, Musliman, wa ma kana min al-mushrikeen. Oh Allah, make us of firm, grounded people of Iman. Oh Allah, make us of those people who have ikhlas in you. Oh Allah, make us of those people who are the people of Jannah. Give us the characteristics of the people of Jannah. Oh Allah, give us the statements of the people of Jannah. Oh Allah, give us the behavior of the people of Jannah. Oh Allah, give us the love and the hope and the fear of the people of Jannah. Oh Allah, make us the people of Jannah in our dunya, with our wives, with our children, with our parents, with our friends, with every single person who has a haqq upon us. Oh Allah, make us of the people of Jannah. Make us act like the people of Jannah so that we can enter into your Jannah and we will not be rejected and humiliated when we meet you, Ya Allah. Allah, be pleased with us. Oh Allah, be pleased with us. Oh Allah, be pleased with us and give us all the good that we hope for and the good that you know that is better for us and we ask for, but there is even greater good that you know of. Oh Allah, save us from the bad that we fear and the bad which is worse than what we fear. Oh Allah, the difficulties that the Muslims are going through, only you know of. There are parents who are complaining. There are children who are disattached. There are people who are weak. There are people who are poor. There are people who are going through desperation. There are people who are ill. There are people who are in need of you, and none, because you are Rabbul Alameen, none knows exactly what is going on except you. Oh Allah, help every single one of them, Ya Allah. We're asking you in this time, on the day of Jumu'ah, when dua is not rejected and we are fasting, and we are asking you before Salatul Maghrib, Ya Allah. We are interceding through you, to you, Ya Allah, through goodness upon goodness, through blessed time upon blessed time that you give us from the good of the dunya, and you give us the good of the akhirah, and you save us and our loved ones from the fire. Oh Allah, don't make us even see the hellfire, make us of the people of Jannah. Oh Allah, send peace and blessings upon your messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was sent to us as a guide, and make us of those who love him and follow him. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, shalla ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.